Hello, everybody, and welcome to our September 2025 astrology forecast. As always, I'm delighted to be joined by our esteemed faculty member, Celeste Brooks. So, Celeste, as always, thank you so much for coming back on the show. And how are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Callum. I'm so excited to be here. I love talking with you and getting your brilliant insights with these forecasts.
It's always a wonderful pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much. So, before we get into the details of each week, Celeste, what are your thoughts as September as an overview this month?
Yeah, September is a big month. We have the first new moon in Virgo already happened in August, but we're moving through the Virgo lunation cycle. And so we had a new moon at 0 Virgo, and then we're going to have another new moon at 29 Virgo. So the first degree and the last degree of the sign. I keep calling them the Alpha and the Omega. So Virgo rules systems. Its job is to bring order to chaos. And the South Node is in the sign. So we're seeing a lot of things coming up to the surface around Virgo topics. It also rules health. So we're seeing a lot of health stories, and I really encourage people to pay attention to the health stories that they are seeing, because we're going to have a solar eclipse in Virgo. Now, the new moon in Virgo, one of the things that we saw, and the first thing it did was it squared Uranus and Gemini. So we're getting more insights about the Uranus and Gemini story. And one of the things that already happened is a lot of countries around the world are no longer going to be sending small packages, which are worth less than $800, to the United States. Gemini rules transportation. Uranus suddenly breaks things. And I was a influencer for an Australian company that makes oracle decks. I got a message yesterday. They can't send me anymore the oracle decks because they won't be sent. So that's like a break in a relationship for me. Lots of people order small things. Lots of businesses are going to be impacted by this change. So that's a big sudden change for a lot of, especially small entrepreneurs that sell their products overseas and things. And it's the de minimis tax exemption. The law does not involve itself with trifles. And that's what Virgo energy is. It's like every little piece of the puzzle is analyzed with Virgo kind of energy. So really notice how you see Virgo stuff coming up through this cycle. Virgo rules our routines, and so people have to change their routines, their daily routines. If you had some favorite thing you got from, I don't know, wherever, and maybe you no longer can use it. Oh, when I saw that story, I was wondering, are people going to be able to get their Ozempic? Are we going to be seeing, because it comes from Europe, are people going to be seeing certain celebrities and stuff starting to get bigger, or people you know? So that would be interesting to see if that's part of the story. Now, I'm going to give myself a personal plug. My Celestial Insights podcast was called Put a Ring on It. And I was predicting that Taylor Swift was going to get engaged. Yes. And we found out she got engaged on August 10th, is what I've heard, with Mercury going direct and the Venus-Jupiter conjunction. And that's what I thought. But I said she announced it to us with Venus opposite Pluto. And I want to bring this up because I've seen a couple astrologers saying that things about the relationship based on the announcement date. We know nothing about the relationship based on the announcement date. It's the date they got engaged and entered into this contract. And the eclipse season, there are two different cycles with eclipses. There's one called the Metonic cycle, where we'll have an eclipse at the same degree every 19 years approximately for a certain amount of period of time, like 75 to 96 years. And so that has a personal level. And then there's the Saros cycles, which happen about every 18 years. And this is like a 1,300-year cycle where there'll be an eclipse that starts at the North and the South Pole. And there'll be eclipses every 18 years or so. And they're different degrees of the zodiac, but they have the same flavor. And Bernadette Brady delineated all of these Saros cycles eclipses. And the theme for this one, and it's 9 New South, she uses a different system than NASA, is about, let me read it exactly, worry about loved ones, health, paperwork, or communication. And paperwork is a big theme. So I'm sure Taylor Swift is dealing with her prenuptial agreement that she's and her lawyers and his lawyers are negotiating. I'm trying to get my passport renewed. So think about themes. If paperwork comes up, don't wait till the last minute, because some people are going to be feeling a sense of urgency and crisis about some kind of paperwork. It may be a prescription or something else as we move through this cycle. Another thing that was announced with the sun, and the sun is a leader figure square Uranus, I think it was this right after the sun square Uranus, was the President of the United States says he wants to change the Department of Defense back to its old title, the Department of War. Uranus rules reversals. Gemini, you can think about what we call things. Virgo, how things are categorized. So we'll see what that's about. And then in Arizona, and where people went to Burning Man, there were dust storms. Virgo has associations with farmland, and I really see it like as the top layer of soil. And Uranus in Gemini is an air sign, and the wind. And right now, Uranus in Gemini and Pluto in Aquarius are making this smooth, easy flowing trine between each other. And they're both air signs. So like picking up the dust and swirling around is very in line with the astrology. So think about those different things that, and workers are Virgo, like the rank and file, including armies, are workers. So these are some of the things that we saw opening up. And throughout the lunation, the Virgo lunation, we're going to be seeing things about Virgo, things coming to light. And then we've got a Virgo eclipse. So a lot of Virgo energy.
Absolutely, Celeste. So much going on this month. My overview for September is that I feel like on a personal level, we can get some progress. We can get some work done, as you've been mentioning, not to be too cliche, but the ability to organize and to plan ourselves, because we have here the personal planets zipping along. But now collectively, on the other hand, we're going to have all of the outer planets all retrograde. We're going to have the Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. Saturn's going to be in the mix. But with all of the outer planets in retrograde, I almost have this sense collectively that not only are we in uncharted territory, but there's a kind of collective nervousness in the air. We've not been here before, so we're not really understanding collectively where we're going. And as a species, I don't think we know where we're going. We might be saying, as you said before, getting a preview, but I think this might work better on an individual level this month than on a collective level. Because when you think about Virgo season, Virgo is, for me, a no-nonsense sign. It wants to get down to the practical realities. It's an earth sign, and it also wants to gather the facts, a Mercury-ruled sign. So it's one of those signs that really has to clean up after everybody else. For me, Virgo is one of the most, or if not the most, underrated sign of the zodiac. Because not only does it have to clean up everybody else's mess, it really is underappreciated. And it's a place for Virgo where without Virgo, society for me would just crumble, because they are the cogs in the machine that keep societies running, whether that's organization, planning, moving, mutable sign, keeping things together. So for me, very, very much an undervalued sign in the zodiac. So absolutely. And then trade is going to be a big part of this. with Mercury. So it's going to be a very, very interesting month. So diving into the specifics of each week, Celeste, week one, what are your thoughts?
Well, the first thing that happens is on September 1st, Saturn retrogrades back into the sign of Pisces. Saturn entered Pisces in 2023. It moved into Aries May 24th of this year. So we got a little taste of Aries. It only got to 1 degree. And then it's moving back into Pisces to finish up the work. And it's going to be in Pisces until February. So look where Saturn and Pisces is in your house. This story, and really be aware, and be aware especially this week, because there can be a callback to something you thought you had resolved. And Saturn is the planet of boundaries, limitations, karma, duty, discipline. If you have escapist tendencies, I really recommend this is a beautiful energy in order to quit drinking or drugging or like playing nonsense games nonstop. Anything you're doing for escapism, this could be a beautiful energy to bring some discipline to it. Now, Pisces is a water sign. We may be seeing a big story on seas or with boats or something like that. I really recommend people pay attention to the weather. There could be a storm and like moving from Aries to Pisces, like a fire gets wild. Where's the water? We need water to put out the fire. We can't find the water or the fire extinguisher. So be careful cooking as this transitions. I think the Pope is going to give a sermon on Sunday, August 31st, that highlights the mythologization of violence and aggression in the United States. We just had another school shooting where a bunch of Catholics, 2 Catholic students were killed and 17 other people injured. So I wrote a post on Threads about the executioner's psalm. So I think we'll be hearing from the Pope about that. And there may be limitations on medications. So we may find out, if there's new tariffs on medications and things like that. People may be realizing, and a certain amount of people in the United States were all for getting rid of all these government workers, and now we're realizing, like you said, like the rank and file and what they do to keep things running. And then Mercury moves into Virgo. Mercury is the planet of commerce, communication, and transportation. So think about what's announced on September 7th, and it could be about Saturn and Pisces. You can no longer get this medication because it can't be shipped from overseas, or the price of your medication is going up because Mercury squares Uranus in Gemini. So there's some kind of shocking news that is related to health or systems or these different things we're talking about. Also, it could be recalls of something related to these things. So we'll see what it is, but think about it in terms of, and when you're reading the news or you're listening to people talk to you, think about how these are tied together. And then before I go on, you want to say something about that?
Wonderful point, Celeste. And I think trade is going to be a big issue like it has been in the news for a while now, because as you say, Mercury tied to trade. We've had these dumbass tariffs that have come into effect. So not only are we talking about inflation, price risings, we're also going to be talking about the issues with the global trade as a system. So that Mercury piece is going to be very important. And that's going to be interesting with Saturn dipping its toes back into Pisces retrograde. I would say for anybody watching, if you've got any planets in late degrees of mutable signs, which are Pisces, the Virgo, Gemini, and Sagittarius, that might be a story, as Celeste said before, a returning story if any planets are hit personally in your chart. So keep an eye out for that, but we'll speak more about that in depth as we get to each rising sign. But as you said, Celeste, we've got Mercury entering its home sign in Virgo, so it's going to gain some strength. But there's going to be a twist to this Mercury, because the next day we have that square to Uranus. So I would say over these first couple of days, the first week of September, we might hear just unexpected news. We've got Mercury squaring off against Uranus. Just might be really unexpected news that comes through. Now, with Mercury being in Virgo, we could probably expect the facts to be on point. We can probably expect it to be factual, whatever revelations come out. Now, that's more on the collective. If we're talking more on an individual level, this is a great week to have a notepad by the side of you to write down any brilliant ideas that come to mind. Anytime we have Mercury's connection with Uranus, we can be thinking about sudden insights. And with Mercury, it can be sudden ideas. So I would say this week, keep a pen and pad next to you for any bright ideas that might come up. On the shadow side, it could mean somebody who is just blurting things out. Mercury square Uranus, it might be that quiet co-worker that you know who suddenly gets out of their chair in their office and tells the boss to go F themselves. So it could be quite an interesting and volatile week in terms of communication on the collective, probably more about trade. Celeste.
And Gemini rules the fingers and the hands, and they may give the boss the finger as they're telling her to pound sand. Yes, yeah. And we can think about Mercury being sharp, precise, and focused, but also can be kind of critical, nitpicky. These are in Virgo being the shadows of the energy. I'm speaking of Mercury and Virgo specifically. And there is someone who's supposed to be, his name is Ralph Leroy Menzies. He's a Utah death row inmate who was convicted in the 1986 murder and abduction of this convenience store worker. And you can think about how convenience stores are from a gas station worker are places of transportation where you go to, you go while you're driving along on the road. Now, this person's supposed to be executed on September 5th, the day Uranus goes retrograde by firing squad. But there are people trying to get a stay of execution. This person has dementia. We're coming up to a Pisces lunar eclipse, and Pisces can be mental confusion. So they're trying to stop this execution of this person who doesn't even probably know what they did at this point. And you can think about on September 4th, Jupiter in Cancer trying the North Node in Pisces. Will a court, I'm wondering if this is something about a stay of execution for this person. Now we have Mars in Libra squaring Jupiter in Cancer. So Mars is energy and drive. Mars attacks. Mars motivates, and Mars square Jupiter. Maybe we'll be seeing some diplomatic conflicts. Libra rules diplomacy over water. We can think about Cancer. We can think about Jupiter and Cancer. We're seeing this expansion of tribalism. And one of the things that's been really interesting to watch, and I want to personally thank Sydney Sweeney and American Eagle for doing this gene campaign where they were like playing a word on genes, where like she mimicked Brooke Shields' ad from the 1980s or so, or 70s, which was very disturbing because she was a young girl, Brooke Shields, where she was sucking her thumb and being really sexually provocative and acting like an object. And she's talked about how traumatizing, how she was abused by the Hollywood machine and as a sex object for, grown men. But what happened, it caused a little bit of a firestorm about eugenics type things. But then the Gap has come back with their dancing videos, which I loved. And we can think about Cancer is nostalgic. And the song, they're using this girl group. If you haven't seen it, you have to go watch it. Search Gap and Cat's Eye Gap ad. And it's this beautifully complex choreography that is so incredible. Cat's Eye is this international girls singing group, women's singing group, and there are these beautiful women from all over the world, and they're doing this dance, and it's very empowering. And they do it to the song Milkshake, which was a big hit back in like the 80s, 90s. And it talks about my milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. It's better than yours. And oh my God, I love it so much. So it's a direct response to the American Eagle Act, and people are learning the choreography. It's so great. I'm saying, oh, maybe we could do it. Do we have a dance party at the Kepler Symposium? Maybe we could do the choreography. But I think we're going to be seeing around the lunar eclipse or at some time this month, maybe even a sorority in, oh, I don't know, Alabama doing this dance. Because we're in these culture wars, Mars and Libra, and we can think about like the jeans wars, and all these other companies have done jean things, but the Gap is the one that is really like hit it out of the park. It's a triple, double, dipple home run with this commercial. And I used to stop 20 years ago when the Gap ads came on and watch them, and sometimes rewind and watch them again because it was so great with the choreography.
I love that. I'm going to have to watch that. You don't want to see me dance, but I'll definitely view it.
It's so much fun. Oh my God. And
But it's such a great.
Women are strong and powerful and talented.
I love that. And it really has spoke to the polarization over the last couple of years, and now the overtness of the just the undercurrents of nastiness that has come out in the last few years, which is really, really unfortunate. But I would say, especially around September 4th, as you've been talking about, Celeste, we've got this Mars square Jupiter. So what I would say is just watch out for excessive behavior. We've got anytime we've got Mars that's taking action, magnified by the Jupiter, I would certainly watch out being on the roads if you're having to commute a long way. Watch out for speeding. Anything that over excess of speeding or people with road rage on the roads, I'd certainly watch out for that, because this is compounded. Not only is Mars in detriment, but it takes its fall from the Jupiter in Cancer. So this is not a great time to just rein yourself in, watch out for excessive behavior. And if you had a few bright ideas in the beginning of the week with this Mercury-Uranus connection, I'd certainly wait a few weeks to start taking action until that Mars gains a bit more dignity. But speaking of which, and which ties into this very energetic first week, we've not only got the full moon building up this week into the week two, but we've got this Uranus station going retrograde. Now, when a planet stations to go direct or retrograde, it's usually one of the loudest planets in the sky. And with Uranus, no astrologer can predict what Uranus is going to do. All we can say as astrologers is that expect the unexpected. So speaking to your point, Celeste, there might be a lot of things going on. See where that Uranus is in your chart, because even though it's a collective planet, if it makes any connections to your personal planets, watch out for what's going up or what's coming up for you, because it can be quite a volatile time and a volatile week for this first week.
Yes, and retrogrades pull back the tape so that we can see what is underneath. So we may be finding out shocking information. And Uranus rules reversals. It rules lightning strikes. It's in that, like I said, it's in the air sign. So there could be like, there's this cyclone type energy with this week. It's really, really intense. And one of the things on September 3rd, some of the victims of Jeffrey Epstein are going to be at Congress testifying. And Virgo rules the maiden. So we're going to see these young women and some things that they have to say about the horrors of being abused by the wealthy on this island to please, these wealthy people. And so I think this is very karmic about this time, that this stuff is coming up. And yeah, I'm hoping that they get some justice. Now, what is the administration going to do to try to avert attention from these people testifying in front of Congress? So be prepared for a diversionary tactic to try to take this story off the front pages. but we're not falling for it. We're paying attention to what they have to say. It's time for their justice. But with retrogrades, it really can be, you may learn something that wasn't in your conscious attention. So retrogrades can be really helpful. I would caution people about being passive aggressive, Mars in Libra, with their partners, because that could lead to a big fight that's very emotional with that Mars square Jupiter. And some words could be said with this Uranus retrograde Gemini. What it does, somebody may tell you what they really think about your kid, Gemini, your sibling, Gemini, your neighbor. Yeah, these can be topics that can be coming up. Retrogrades bring conflicts, delays, restrictions, and the potential collapse of something that was contemplated, like an execution potentially. And Uranus rules lightning strikes, earthquakes, the sudden breaking of things, winning the lottery. It's like something changes, and it can be good, very positive, or not so positive. It can be like we found out Taylor Swift was getting married. And I mean, people were so excited. We needed some good news, like in this difficult time. So yeah, just be prepared for something. And there could be like a big zinger. Like Gavin Newsom has been taking the fight directly to the president. Gavin Newsom is the governor of California. And I had done a talk years ago about a tale of two kings, comparing Newsom's and Trump's charts. There's a lot of it. They have a karmic connection. But yeah, so that's enough about that. Be ready. There's going to be, and if you're traveling, do not leave the house without going to the bathroom on Thursday, Friday, because there may be big something on you'll notice like traffic. Just notice like traffic things where you have to take a different direction and it delays you. Now, if you're at the airport, your flight may be delayed because of a storm or something like that. Some power outage could be coming up with Mars square Jupiter, like a storm leads to power outage. Yeah, so just expect the unexpected. Have the right clothes. If you need a sweater, go to the bathroom before you leave the house. Have your phones charged completely all week, because you may not have access to electricity.
Wonderful advice. And it's quite interesting because I was thinking this first week when I was looking at this Mercury square Uranus and unexpected news, but the news being quite factual. I did not know that they were scheduled for the September 3rd for the Epstein stuff. So that's really quite interesting, because we're probably going to get factual information which is revealing and implicates a lot of people. So thank you for bringing that up, because I did not know that was scheduled for the 3rd. Very interesting. Okay, Celeste, into week 2. What are your thoughts?
We have the lunar eclipse in Pisces at 15 degrees, right smack in the middle of the sign. Pisces rules spirituality. It rules compassion, forgiveness. So you may have like some big revelation when Uranus goes retrograde about something in your childhood that maybe one of your parents or siblings or classmates did, where you understand it now and you have forgiveness for the person. So I love that energy of being more compassionate, loving, creative. This can be a really beautiful, beautiful thing. Fairy tale romance energy is coming in with this. Pisces energy can be very beautiful. Now it also rules like refugees and homeless and people who, in a disadvantaged situation. So and lunar eclipses bring full exposure. They're karmic. And the last time we had a lunar eclipse at this degree at 15 Pisces was on September 7th, 2006. So there may be a story in your life. So this lunar eclipse can be very creative, but Pisces also rules people who are disadvantaged, like refugees, homeless people, drug addicted people. So there may be a story about overdoses or the potential for overdose. There's this new drug, and it's not new, it's a veterinary drug it starts with a C, but it's 100 times more potent than fentanyl. it's like fentanyl or something like that. I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact name. And it's resurfacing in the United States. And I saw an announcement about it. So if you know someone who has an issue with fentanyl or any kind of drug, it might be a good idea to just let them know, to be aware. Don't take candy from strangers. There could be stories about people getting this drug. Yes. So, but the energy of this lunar eclipse could be really beautiful for some people. Now, there's other difficult things in the energy, but hopefully you can do, if you have a creative project, this is a beautiful thing to do. Now, Venus in Leo is going to be at 15 degrees on a world point. So there's going to be a Venus in Leo story. So this can be something about royalty, celebrity, and it's in the 8th house. So we'll see. There's going to be a big story that may have luxury goods, may be a story in the news. I'm just getting that as a hit. I called it when I did last November, when I did the forecast of the eclipse, I called it severance packages. So some people are going to get an understanding of that their company's downsizing because of the tariffs. There could be news of that. Exposure of religious leaders, anchors, university faculty, or judges could be something that's coming up. It's in the 9th. The sun is in the 9th house in the U.S. if you set it to Washington, D.C., and the moon is in the 3rd house. So there could be like reporters coming up. And with the Mars square Jupiter, I put heavy winds and rain and kangaroo court. So John Bolton, who was the head of, I think, national security for the first Trump administration, had his house searched and his office searched by the FBI. So there's going to be something about going after a retribution that the current administration is doing, and kangaroo courts suggest people being brought up on trumped-up charges. So we'll see. There could also be some kind of cultural limitation. There could be some announcement about art, music, or film. And fixed star Arcanar is activated, the end of the river. So there could be some stories about floods or fires. We've had, climate change is just such a huge issue right now. So that can be stuff that's coming up. Now, September 10th, the sun conjunct the South Node. The South Node is a karmic drain. South Node makes a big flushing sound, and it looks like a reverse horseshoe. So especially if you have a South Node in Virgo like me, and if you have it near about 18 degrees of any of the mutable signs, be aware you can trip like on that little hook and fall into a karmic trench where you get real critical. Now, the sun spotlights things. We're going to see a leader fall into a trench of some sort, in terms of, you might find out the CEO of your company has been fired, or a leader on the world stage exits stage left, or something like that. Like the United States has sent all these naval ships down to near Venezuela because they're saying that Nicolas Maduro, the head of that country, is involved in drug cartels, and there may be some kind of, he's talking about regime change. Like he's nervous, and he should be, because of his chart. Anyway, we won't go down that road, but something could happen down there that's unexpected, and casting our eyes on that. Or I think there's going to be something surprising where we get a little embarrassed. That's just a hit of that, like with this. So hopefully no one is going to be harmed, but 4.5 million soldiers and militia were pulled up by Venezuela. So that's concerning. There could be something where there's a sudden outbreak of unexpected chaos somewhere around the world with this lunar eclipse, and it could be a leader takes a fall. Now, for yourself, really recognize what comes to your conscious attention. There's full exposure where the sun is shining in your Virgo house. Where are you overly perfectionistic, too critical of yourself or others, getting into analysis paralysis, that sort of thing? Or if there's something like you eat too much candy, maybe you'll decide to toss it aside. You'll recognize it with the sun on the south node because it's putting a drain on your on your system. And Judith Hill says, be very mindful if you have any like diabetes or pre-diabetes, people with sugar issues with these eclipses in Virgo and Pisces can have like an unexpected problem or spike or something like that. So Mars and Libra is ruled by Venus, and I'm going to say maybe consider cutting sugar a little bit. Yeah. Now, beautiful energy, the sun in Virgo sextile Jupiter in Cancer. So, Jupiter is the great benefic. Sun in Virgo, you may get the details about what your parents are planning to do with their estates when they pass on. Could be something you find out full exposure of. Now, Mercury conjunct the South Node. Maybe you thought you were going to get mom's antique ring and you find out your sister Sally is going to get it. Be careful about going ballistic. And then Mercury in Virgo, sextile Jupiter in Cancer. Now, this is beautiful energy to have precise, well-organized thought processes or speech that is expansive and connects with people emotionally. And yeah, you may be seeing, this brings to mind like advertisements that are really like the Budweiser advertisements where like this little dog is walking down the road. Like you just get, oh, this emotional heart tugging on the heartstrings, and it just is the perfect message that comes across. Could be something that we're seeing. Take good care of your small pets. Virgo is a topic that has to do with small pets. Bees, we may get news about bees, yeah, see that. And then we're going to have the Mercury Cazimi. Mercury conjunct the sun at 20 Virgo. So if you have anything around there, really pay attention. You might get brilliant insights. But Cazimis are when someone sits at the foot of the king and asks for a favor. The sun is the king in ancient astrology, and it will be bestowed. So maybe you want to ask your accountants for some kind of paperwork that you need, or how are the rules changed, or things like that. Notice if we see in the collective, like someone asking for a favor from the king and getting it, that is a Virgo nature. I better get my passport. That's all I have to say about that. And yeah, but there's death and rebirth symbolism with Cazimis. So be really conscious. Like there's this COVID thing coming up. Pay attention to the health news about, I'm thinking of masking again because I'm concerned with, I've already been sick twice this year. I've had enough of it. So that's what I have to say about this week.
Wonderful, Celeste. And picking up on your point, there's a lot of energy with any full moon. So it's quite an energetic week. It might be quite interesting as we have the sun conjunct the south node in a mundane sense. We might be looking, and you mentioned this before, we could be looking at a leader where we've got sun, we've got vitality, and the south node draining that vitality. It could mean a health issue with a leader around the world. I know there's been some news in the United States with the president here. So I wonder if this might tie into some more news about the health of the president. Here we've also got Mercury on the next day, Mercury conjunct the South Node. Now, even though I said before, Mercury is very strong in Virgo, it's in its home sign. But if we do get any revelations that come out, maybe it's the Epstein stuff, with Mercury conjunct the South Node, there's going to be a segment of the population who are just going to ignore the facts. Mercury and Virgo, we're getting the facts, but with the South Node in the mix, we might have half the population going, nah, I don't want to listen to it, draining away the influence of the information is what's coming up for me in the second week. But as you've mentioned, Celeste, when we get to September 13th, not only have we got this powerful Mercury in Virgo, it's going to be on steroids. It's supercharged by the Cazimi. So this is a great day. I know it falls on a weekend, but if you're at a conference or if you need to speak, certainly you can elect a time to maybe give your speech, because this is going to be a great time to, filter through the facts and have a stage presence. We've got the Mercury sextile to the Jupiter coming off on the 12th. So this is a great time for any public speech that you want to give. And again, with Mercury being supercharged, this should be quite a beneficial time for anything that has any mercurial matters. Once we get past the touch of Mercury to the South Node, is what I would say for week 2.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
that's wonderful. Oh yeah, and some systems. So save your work, some systems may be going down. So that's something to be aware of with this energy as well.
Absolutely. Wonderful.
Like a death and rebirth, you have to restart your computer. Like just watch. I mean, the world turns into a moving poetry when you look at it through an astrological lens, in my opinion. And you see the things that happen. It has a whole different different view on things and maybe you're like, that's just that. So something normally would irritate you, you just go with the flow. And with a Pisces lunar eclipse, how can you be in flow? Be careful if you're doing anything on water, because there could be unexpected like swells and things like that. Yeah, pay attention to health news. There was somebody got some flesh-eating disease in going into water, a lake or something recently. So yeah, just be aware. Pisces can be weakness, illness. Yeah, you may find out your medication, something like about medication. So with eclipses, I like to talk about how you walk through a door and you turn around and there's a wall. So they pull us forward and they can bring things in very quickly. And if you have any health concerns, get to the doctor. Don't put it off, is what I would say.
Great advice. Certainly stay healthy this month.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now before we get into week 3, I'm not a fan of commercials, so I promise this will not take any longer than 60 seconds, but we do have a quick few announcements. So beginning September 21st, you can join our president, Donna Young, and myself. We'll be conducting the class Fundamentals 1, Introduction to Astrology. This is a 10-week class, and you'll be there with us live, and we do a lot of labs. And by the end of the course, you should have the ability to delineate natal charts. And Celeste, your transits class begins September 15th. You want to say a quick word about the class?
Yes, my transits class is a 5-week class. You need to know how to delineate a natal chart before you come. We're not going to get into that. What you're going to learn about is transits, perfections, eclipses, the synodic cycles, and you're going to put together a forecast for the coming year. So you're going to learn how to build a forecast of what's coming up with the transits. Now, sometimes it sells out. So if you want to join, I suggest you do not hesitate. And the price goes up 2 weeks before. So book it as soon as you can.
Absolutely. And I'll put those links in the description below. And lastly, we are celebrating our 25th anniversary. We're very, very excited. It's our first symposium in 15 years. And we'd love to meet you in person. But if you can't attend Niagara Falls in person, this is a virtual event. And I'll put the links in the description below. And as you can see, we have a stellar lineup of speakers. Not only have we got Celeste, we've got the likes of Lee Lehman, we've got the one and only Rick Levine, and many, many other fantastic speakers. So definitely join us if you can in virtual, and we'd love to see you in person as well. Very, very excited for the symposium.
Oh, I'm so excited for the symposium and getting the opportunity to meet students and other Kepler faculty in person. It's going to be wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
I can't wait. Absolutely. Okay, Celeste, diving into week 3, your thoughts?
So we've got Venus in Leo sextile Mars in Libra. This can be wonderful energy. Sextiles are opportunistic. Now, what I see with this can be, when I was thinking about it, there was a meme that was going around on Instagram and whatnot forever, where there was this couple walking down the street, and then the man saw a woman and he's turned around looking at the woman behind him. So what this can be is someone, Venus and Leo, someone in a partnership feeling like they really need to be appreciated, recognized, and Mars and Libra using indirect passive aggressive kind of attacks in order to, like, okay, you think she's cute, wait till you see I put on my new outfit that I'm going to get all kinds of attention with. So just be mindful about being passive aggressive, be direct in your communication with your partners, because Venus trine Chiron retrograde in Aries, there can be a smooth, easy flowing energy for healing. Chiron is the wounded healer, or hurting. So this week, especially with Mars opposite Chiron, could be like getting into a little argument with your partner about you not getting enough attention, or someone feels like they're not being valued like they should be. And Mars opposite Chiron, be very mindful of your safety. When Chiron's activated, there can be, especially now that we have Uranus and Gemini, there can be someone who crashes out. People are crashing out. We see it all over, where they're just the stress of life or whatever, people are kind of losing it. So just be mindful, be safe. If you see someone starting to really ramp things up, try to help them de-escalate. If it's your kid, try to help them get tools to calm them down. Maybe start, if you have a kid that has like issues, maybe start working with them and doing like meditations, the breath. I saw a school system who was integrating, instead of detention, they're teaching the students tools for self-regulation. And you can use these for yourself. And then Mercury opposite Saturn retrograde. So Mercury's in Virgo, opposite Saturn retrograde in Pisces. Now, there's going to be news that may call back to March, where when the Sun and Mercury, when the Sun and Saturn met in Pisces, this was right near the lunar eclipse at 23 Virgo, March 14th. And one of the biggest stories in the US was people being sent, picked up off the streets, being sent to that horrible prison in El Salvador based on their tattoos, Saturn and Pisces. Saturn rules the color black. You can think Pisces ink and Pisces drawings. They're tattoos. And one was like a hairdresser, and it was a mistake. And Kilmar Brego Garcia shouldn't have even been picked up. And now they're trying to send him to Uganda. So we may get news about that. And there was a soccer coach or something. We may get some news about what's going on with these people, who some of whom were sent to this horrible prison. A lot have been gone back to Venezuela and whatnot. But anyway, pay attention to that, or you may get news about your own personal story back in March. That was also the time of Signalgate, where there were leaked. A reporter was accidentally added to a text chat with United States officials planning to attack Yemen. So there could be a blockbuster reporting or news that's a callback to that. And then Mercury enters Libra, and what diplomatic discussions are going on? Libra is a sign that rules justice, balance. This can be mindful. This could be when Mercury picks up that Saturn opposition. Oppositions come in from other people. Someone could say something to someone, and they get heated, and they're like the stuff that's coming out. They're reading you the riot act about every single thing that's wrong with you. Just be mindful. People can get really critical, and if you have something to say, you might want to wait till Mercury goes into Libra, because then your response will be more balanced. As we get to the 29th degree of every sign, there's this energy of crisis and decay where there's like this real push to get everything out about this of the nature of the sign before it changes. And ooh, pause if you can. It's going to be real. Oh, let me stop there before I go to Mercury and Libra. You want to say something?
Yeah, wonderful point, Celeste. The one thing, or the main thing I'm picking out from week 3 is the Mercury's opposition to Saturn. Now, when we talked about before in the earlier weeks of week 1 and 2, if you're getting some brilliant ideas from the Mercury square to Uranus, the Mercury Cazimi, this is going to be the reality check with some of those ideas. Saturn, reality, and Mercury in the opposition. This is a good time to discern what ideas or what plans you have in place are going to work well and the ones that maybe won't work so well. So that discerning quality with the opposition, Saturn is going to be the reality check. So here you can really think about what to do moving forward and what to take away. Now, I would take advantage of September 17th to do this, because as we get into September 18th, not only does Mercury leave its home sign, it enters Libra in the opposition to Neptune. Now, the problem with the opposition to Neptune is the ideas or the plans you had in place might not be as clear as it has been. I'd also watch out for anytime there's a Mercury opposition to Neptune, I would certainly avoid signing any major contracts or making any major purchases, because with Neptune, we can also have this idea of a snake oil salesman. So maybe the details aren't quite clear, or someone is trying to pull the wool over your eyes. So if you're going to discern the facts, I'll certainly do that on the 17th. Watch out as that Mercury opposes the Neptune. And yeah, I think that's just something to watch out for week 3.
Yes, and Saturn can symbolize failure. So you thought you had this great idea, and but you need a component from Belgium, and now they're not sending it in the mail anymore to the United States. So everything falls apart because you can't get something that you used to be able to get. So with Mercury in Virgo, it's a quick transit, but really checking all the details so that when Mercury enters Libra and air signs communicate and connect, when you find out opposite Neptune, that's not available anymore to you because of the tariffs, or the price went through the roof. So just be mindful of that. And Mercury trines Uranus retrograde. The shocking information. And Pluto on the other side, because of things totally outside of your control. Pluto and Aquarius, things that are going on in the collective, these power struggles. There's like something fails that you thought was going to be a big success. And then Venus moves from Leo into Virgo, and Venus is in the sign of its fall in Virgo. So your hopes may fall, like you were feeling like $1 million and now you feel like a $1 bill because you can't launch the product or whatever you thought you were going to do, or do whatever. Make this somebody's birthday the best thing ever because you got their favorite chocolate bar from Belgium. You can't have it anymore. Pick something else. And yeah, Venus and Virgo. If like you showed up and showed out when Venus was at 29 Leo, you could maybe, or you had some kind of come to Jesus talk with your partner during this Venus sextile Mars, maybe one of the partners will show simple acts of service and love that make it clear to the other that they are cared for, and you see these things. So that could be, even though Venus is in fall in this sign, it can be just the simple, can you honor the simple pleasures or the simple things? You don't need to get a 10-carat ring all the time in order for someone to be showing you they love you. And then Venus squares Uranus and Gemini. And you may just awaken to the fact, Uranus awakens us, that this person really does love you and shows it in ways that are maybe not ostentatious, like flying you to Paris every other week or whatever, but really meaningful, like rubbing your feet or taking out the trash or whatever. And then the sun opposes Saturn. The sun in Virgo opposes Saturn, and you get crystallization about, hey, let me get out of this fairy tale and be so thankful that, oh, my car broke down and my partner came and helped me change the tire and did all this stuff to make sure I could get on my way. And oh my God, I'm going to stop thinking he's supposed to act like some celebrity's partner who just tells his assistant to send her 10 dozen roses. No, he or she stopped and came and helped you change that tire themselves. They really did something that was a real act of love and service. Could be. And this could also be sun opposite Saturn, like limitations on a leader gets taken out, a leader has a big failure, something like that, or tells you a lot of critical stuff, says we're having layoffs, all this kind of stuff could be coming up. It's like, it's real bummer energy, sun opposite Saturn.
Absolutely. I'm not going to pick on the point you made about Taurus, but I've got a feeling for week 3. Not only have we got Mercury, we can relate in a mundane sense to trade and commerce, in the opposition to Saturn and restrictions. 2 days later, as you pointed out, we're going to have the Venus entering its fall. So I wonder from the middle of the week to the end of the week where we might see maybe dip in the financial markets. We've got Venus, we've got value. So I wonder with the tariffs kicking in and a lot of these companies having to pass on the prices, I wonder into week 3 as we get deep into September, whether the fall of value of stocks may happen at this week. Maybe that's something to keep an eye out of if you're involved with the financial markets in any way. On a more personal level, this Venus squaring the Uranus, this could be maybe upsets or unexpected events around relationships. As you've been talking about, Celeste, something might happen. Maybe it's a sudden breakup for some reason. Maybe it's a check-in, or one of the partners finds that somebody else had a summer fling, something along those lines. So it might be a difficult end of the week for interpersonal relationships with that Venus again entering the fall and with the square to Uranus in week 3.
Yeah, Mercury and Venus are losing dignity because Mercury moves from its home sign to a sign, I believe it's Peregrine there. So yeah, and Mercury and Venus are personal planets. So it could really feel personal and really hit home. And yeah, you go to the grocery store September 19th and it's like your bill is astronomical and you feel poor. Like that could be what's coming up. Yeah. So you feel like, yeah, what is going on? You have a family of 4 and now you have to tell little Timmy and little Sally to put that back because they can't have their favorite cereal anymore because it's just too expensive.
What a ridiculous timeline we're in right now.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
into week 4, Celeste, your thoughts?
This new moon at 29 Virgo. It's a solar eclipse at the last degree of the sign of just routines, the things, systems, the things with health. It's like you don't things you don't think about until there's a crisis. 29 is the degree of crisis and decay. Now, I've been paying attention, and one of the things we've been seeing is these zombie or these rabbits in Colorado with these keratinous horns and things like that. Uh, there's deer on the East Coast that have these warts all over their faces and stuff. There's squirrels with looking all funky. We are in a time of a Saturn-Neptune conjunction. And with Saturn, which rules the skin and boundaries of all kinds and structures, meets Neptune and starts to dissolve. Like if your personal chart, when you have a Saturn and Neptune interacting in hard aspect, is often a time where people are sick. And we're seeing the world kind of, and particularly this is what I've been seeing in the United States, being sick. And Saturn and Neptune are meeting in February. So we have this solar eclipse in the sign of health. And then we have a solar eclipse in Aquarius at 28 degrees on February 17th of next year. This could be, I hate to say it, but some problem. It doesn't have to be problem with the collective, where something is transmitted by air that causes people illness. The North Node's in Pisces. So really pay attention to health news. And whatever you can do to keep your immune system is in tip-top shape as it should be, do it. Now, I keep saying that and keep going to bed late and not getting quite enough sleep, but I'm trying. So whatever you can do to fortify your health and pay attention. There may be a recall of something. Like there's this water from Walmart was recalled because it's causing some people blindness. Really pay attention to these things. And some shrimp in Walmart. I mean, maybe consider not buying food from Walmart unless you have to. Or maybe I shouldn't say, like, be careful about where you buy your food from, because, you know, there could be some problems with this area. And then, like, there could be like some kind of cyber thing where a system goes down and then Mars enters Scorpio, moving from the sign of its detriment, Libra, where maybe there was a diplomatic conflict, into Mars Scorpio. And this can be an attack that's done underneath the surface, where I've got a big problem, and the sun is in Libra. We're looking at somewhere in the world, are these two countries going to war, or is there like some kind of revolution somewhere? That could be something that's going on right around this time. But I love Mars entering Scorpio because it's the sniper energy, where it could be strategic, precise. The Scorpio has three, it's the only sign with like three archetypal energies. There's the eagle that can fly above and see things like with this piercing eye that like really gets to what's most important. The phoenix, you fell apart, your relationship fell apart, but now you rise from the ashes, ready to light whatever, get out on the town and get yourself a new sweetheart. Or Sun in Libra, you're thinking about relationships. And then the scorpion, the stinger, like, is it really, don't poke holes into someone's tires, please. You know, this is not worth it. Nobody is worth spending a night in jail, in my opinion. So just like, I'm getting the Angela Bassett in Waiting to Exhale, when she found out her husband was cheating, and she took all his clothes and threw them at the end of into the driveway, poured gasoline on him and lit him on fire. I mean, you could do that because that was her house, but maybe consider, maybe not. I'll stop there before we get to the next part.
I love those points. I think touching on what you're saying, we've got Mars, which is nice. It's going to be moving from its detriment into its home sign. And as you're pointing out, if we go back to the beginning of the month, where we're getting these bright ideas again from the Mercury Uranus, the Mercury Cazimi, this is a good week in week 4 to start implementing and taking action on any of those plans. With that Mars dignified, this is a great time. As Celeste is saying, we've got that key word of strategy with Mars in Scorpio. So if you've had all of those great ideas through the month, and then we've had the check-in with Saturn, where you're having to discern what will work and what might not work, week 4 is definitely the week to make those plans and put them into action. Again, Mars action, taking to the initiative. And with Mars in Scorpio, this has the strength to put those plans into action. Yes, we're going to have the sun entering its fall. I think as we get to September 23rd, what's coming up for me around this time is, if we're thinking on a mundane sense, leader's sun, this could be a leader going into its fall, maybe falling from grace in some way. And with the opposite to Neptune, maybe they are the snake oil salesman, or with that leader coming down in fall, this could be a health issue. I know, Celeste, you've been talking a lot this month about health. This could be a leader falling ill in health, and with the opposition to Neptune, the picture is not very clear. Maybe something is going on with that leader. So maybe that's something to watch out for around the world around the fourth week of September, whether there's any leaders having health issues that are deteriorating quite quickly, I would say.
Yes. And one of the things I forgot to mention, when the sun at the Virgo new moon, 0 degrees, the sun in Virgo squared Uranus in Gemini. And people noticed the president was talking, his hand had all the makeup that he puts on his hand to cover up the IV was all looking really funky, and people started talking about what's going on with the president's health. So 0, the alpha, and there was some doctor who did a little TikTok or whatever to said that watch his routines and rituals that he does and see when you notice. And one of the things he recommend, see when he's golfing less. So we're going from 0 to 29 degrees. What is changing through this cycle about the president's health and what he says, what he's doing? Is he still golfing? And he said, you'll know there's a real problem when he golfs less. Now, he's the president. He's got something wrong. There's speculation that it's because he has edema where his ankles are all swollen and whatnot. That started making people talk a couple of months ago. But Mars in Scorpio could be surgery. Like, what if there's some open heart surgery or something like that? I was thinking about, because the sun Libra, the United States midheaven is Libra. Are we looking? Is the sun spotlighting on the midheaven, which is the president in the United States, and Mars and Scorpio? Is there any kind of, and it could be somewhere else around the world, any kind of surgery that someone's happening? Mars rules the scalpel. Yeah, so that could be.
It's quite interesting you say that, because in the solar return this year for the United States, we've got the sun leader in the 6th house whole sign of the chart, also highlighting possible health issues around that time. So that's going to be really quite interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the sun is opposite Neptune retrograde. Maybe someone is saying, pray for the leader because they're getting surgery or something like that. So the sun, the leader, opposite Neptune, which can be feel like weakness or dissolving, or maybe there's something that comes out about propaganda somewhere in the world. Neptune ruling propaganda. Trine Uranus and Gemini retrograde, talking about something from the past. Yeah. And Pluto. Yeah. This could also be talk about, like, I'm getting Uranus rules assassinations, like a previous assassination. Something comes out about JFK. I think I'm getting, and even for Uranus retrograde, something about why are we talking about JFK and RFK, the Kennedy brothers, who were both assassinated back in the 60s. Now, for this eclipse, I wrote last rites, WRITES, when I did the November 3rd last year. Yeah, and I was thinking about, I'm thinking it might be something about prescriptions, like RFK Jr. has said something about they're eliminating, not everyone can get the COVID vaccines if they want. There's going to be clamping down. You have to be old or have some kind of health problem, that they're reducing that. Is there going to be any news about some kind of birth control? Jupiter is in Cancer on a world point. Jupiter rules like doctors and Cancer fertility. I wrote nurses needed. So we'll see. There's big stories in a lot of red states that rural hospitals are closing down because doctors don't, and nurses are scared that they're going to be put in jail if one of their patients has a miscarriage or whatever, or needs emergency care. Things are called abortions, whether they're a miscarriage, whether they're like a fallopian, like ectopic pregnancies, where the baby, the fetus is in the fallopian tubes and it's like a life-threatening thing. And people are just leaving because they don't want to go to jail. So something could be like that. Job relocations of workers start. The federal government, part of the thing, they want to move people into different states to get out of the center of Washington. So we'll see if there's anything about that. But paperwork, remember when I said the Saros series, paperwork is a big story. And throughout the United States, all these different states are redrawing congressional maps. So that's part of the eclipse story. And apparently Texas, there was the big fight with Texas. You can Google it if you don't know, where some Democratic leaders left with Mars and Libra opposite Saturn and Aries to try to stop this redistricting. Well, they did it anyway because the president wanted 5 more seats. But what they did, they probably came up with these maps when Mercury was retrograde. They made 10 seats more vulnerable. So we'll see that. Now California's talking about it. Other states, it's horrible that we're going through this, but that's part of a big story. But yeah, prescriptions, notice if things are taken off the market or harder to get. Yeah. And Mars is at 29 degrees of Libra at the solar eclipse. King comes Saturn in Pisces. So I wrote down mosquito diseases, avian flu, flying things causing diseases, inflammation, and fever. So really pay attention to the news. Maybe think about if you live somewhere where there's mosquitoes, and last year there's EEE, and there was something else with mosquitoes going on. Think about getting repellent, whether it's natural, off, or whatever. There was a guy or a person who got screwworm disease, the first human to have screwworm, which could your skin could look all ugh. So pay attention to the news about health. Please, Lord Jesus, don't get screwworm disease in people. But cattle are having screwworm disease, and the United States is doing all these flies. They're breeding all these sterile flies to try to control it, using science to try to control these screwworm flies. So this is related to that. Yeah.
So much going on this month. The last thing I'll say about week 4 is watch out around September 24th, because we have Mars square Pluto. This can be, at times, has the potential for a volatile period. So Mars, again, taking action. Be careful again on the roads, or watching out for any volatile behavior. This could be on the world stage. It could just be an increase in violence and volatility. But anytime Mars has a connection with Pluto, and especially when it's a difficult aspect, certainly watch out for any volatility, both in the collective and maybe in your own personal life as well. So keep an eye out for the middle of the week there.
Yeah, Mars and Pluto square. Pluto in Aquarius, it's really volatile energy. Yeah, and Mars transits can often, there'll be something coming in a day or two ahead. Uranus transits and Saturn transits are to the day. Now, the Mars square Pluto was October 7th of what happened in Israel. So this is the energy. It's extremely volatile. So be very mindful not to start a conflict and don't come for someone if they didn't send for you, because this is really, really volatile energy. It's like a teapot. Mars in Scorpio. Someone is so furious and outraged and wants to take it out on a group of people. And the moon rules the people. So there's going to be potential, either some kind of big storm. There's likely going to be some big storm during this time, or violent outbreak around this time. Yeah.
That's a great point about especially being in fixed signs, because at least with the mutability, there's some wiggle room, even a sense with the cardinality, but in fixed signs, even more so with that volatility, because no one is budging and nothing is budging. So once it's like two tectonic plates that are hardly moving, they're not quite fixed, but it's a powerful connection.
And maybe they'll arrest, there's some serial killer who's been operating out of suspected out of somewhere in the Northeast. Maybe they get caught. because it brings it into focus. The Pluto in Aquarius, this person hurting people, that could be something like I said accountability begins about this. There's also some people in the United States are suing about or trying to bring court cases, and one is going forward at least, saying their votes weren't counted in the 2024 election for Kamala Harris. And there's a place in New York where she got 0 votes, but Kristen Hildebrand, the Democratic senator, got a bunch of votes. So there could be something coming up with the 2024 election. I'm hoping the accountability also has to do with Epstein victims. I had written down for Uranus entering Gemini that stories of child surface, and that was the day, July 7th, I believe, that the administration said nothing to see here. Jeffrey Epstein died by. There's no list, blah blah blah, and then all of that, and yeah, or maybe the missing like 3 minutes from the tape when he was supposedly himself resurfaces, or something comes up about that Virginia Guffery, who's supposedly one of his victims, who supposedly herself. So allegedly herself. And when are we going to find out? When is Luigi Mangione, who's the suspect in the murder of the healthcare CEO, which was one of the first big events when Pluto went into Aquarius for the last time. Maybe we get his trial date if we don't already have it, or something like that comes up around that trial. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Very, very interesting and volatile times. So Celeste, thank you as always for going through each week of the month. So into each rising sign, Celeste, your thoughts for our Aries rising friends?
Yeah, so Aries, really notice what's going on at the beginning of the month when Saturn moves out of your sign into the sign of Pisces. You may feel a little sense of a letting go of relief. Were you working on a project and you were under pressure, and now it's lightened up, especially if in the early degrees you have things in Aries. Aries sun is for rising specifically. And we can see that the lunar eclipse is going to be across the moon will be in your 12th house, and the Pisces moon will be in your 12th house, and the Virgo sun in your 6th house. So your houses of routines, 6th house, things that go wrong with your health, and then in the 12th house, self-undoing. So this is a great time to consider your health routines. Do you need to get rid of some things in your cabinet that shouldn't be there? Do you need more sleep? Mars is in your 7th house of relationships. Are you nitpicking or passive aggressive with your partner? Are they being that way with you? So these are some themes showing up. You have expansion of maybe feeling connected to your family, or doing ancestry projects can be a beautiful thing to do. Maybe getting some counsel from one of your parents if you're having issues with a partner. Venus, people just like to have fun. This is like Cyndi Lauper, girls just like to have fun song in the 5th house. So hopefully you're taking some time for creativity, having fun, like some romance in your life. So Aries, I hope you have a beautiful season, but with that solar eclipse, you may feel like you really have to make some changes with your routines in order to be healthier. And maybe you're really getting. My boo is an Aries rising, and he is all about his fitness. He's doing all these workout classes and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, that's going on in my world. So maybe you're doing the same thing. And yeah, it's a great time to put some energy into being healthier.
I think those are such great points because the sun this month is highlighting your sixth house, and we've got the South Node transiting there for quite a time. So, as Celeste is saying, I like that advice of just seeing your health regimes, what works, what doesn't. It's highlighting this area of life. Maybe even work or co-workers are maybe feeling a little bit cumbersome. So, I think a good outlet for you, Aries Rising, is this creative piece. We've got that Venus going through your fifth house. So, this could be enjoyment with children, any creative projects that you might have on the go. We've got this wonderfully exalted Jupiter transiting your fourth house. This can manifest in many different ways. That Jupiter there is going to be there for a while, but it could be things like expanding the home. As the Jupiter is ruling the ninth house, this is great time for any sort of study. Could be astrology, it could be going back to school in some ways. So I'd really tap in Aries rising into your creative endeavors this month. We're going to have some of those faster moving planets move into the sixth as well. So again, if you've got any, if you enjoy sports, anything that ties into a routine, this is a good place to start. The only word of caution, I think, for you, Aries rising, is we have your chart ruler in detriment transit in the seventh house. So anytime a planet is angular, that planet is usually loud. So this doesn't always manifest this way, but it could be at times conflict with significant others. It could also be conflicts with business partners. We've got that Mars ruling your eighth whole sign in your chart. So maybe something to do with shared resources. So just be mindful of that Mars. That Mars later in the month is going to gain dignity as it goes through the eighth house. So again, you might be highlighting areas of shared resources, things of that nature. Now, as we get through the month, that Uranus is going to station to go retrograde. So there might be, for you with the Uranus in the whole sign third house, you might be going over maybe some emails that you've missed, maybe something out of the blue in terms of emails or any communications that you have at work. Keep an eye out for that. And as always, for you Aries rising right now, we're going to have that Saturn move back into Pisces, but certainly be cautious if you've got early degrees of Aries rising with both those planets, because they will eventually come back and meet those early degrees. But as you're saying, Celeste, great time to work on your routines with the eclipses, sixth house being highlighted again. This is a great time to, just have some pleasure, but also work out and organize yourself for the month of September.
Yeah, with Venus in your fifth house and Mars in the seventh, use it for sexy time rather than arguing.
I love that. That's the best statement of today. Use it for sexy time. And not only that, that Venus, depending on what your Aries rising degree is, that Venus is going to make a nice connection with the ascendant. So this is a great time to, try on a new outfit, take your partner out for a date, things of that nature. That's going to be quite nice. Wonderful. Okay, into our Taurus rising friends. Celeste, your thoughts?
Yeah, so Taurus risings, this can be a great month for you to get back in touch with any hobbies that you kind of let go on the to the side, with the sun lighting up your fifth house of children, hobbies, sex, fun, risk taking, these sorts of things, pleasure, creativity. Definitely think about picking up a creative project if you put it down. And the full moon will be the eclipse in your 11th house. And the 5th and the 11th house are houses of good fortune. So I love this for you, Taurus. The 11th house also has to do with friends, groups, and associations. Now, there may be a full exposure of someone on that axis for you. Like, some people are going to be finding out someone in their life has an issue with escapism or mental stuff, and the mental problems or that sort of thing. Or deception. Somebody may be revealed. You may find out someone told you a little lie. But I think this is a really nice eclipse for you. I'm a Taurus sun. I really need to get back in gear with my regular routine of working out with Mars in my sixth house. I've kind of let some things fall to the side. What are you motivated to do in terms of being of service, working to improve your health? Venus in your fourth house, maybe you'll consider doing a little um, redecorating in your home or having people over for a family a party, having some connection and fun with your family can be things to do. And Jupiter in your third house, maybe you'll come together with your siblings to do something that is brings back something nostalgic, or you maybe even just talking with your siblings about something nostalgic about your childhood with Jupiter and Cancer in your third house that, oh, where you had so much fun. Like I think about, we used to drive around in my mom's station wagon listening to the Spinners. Yeah, that was one of my happy childhood memories. Maybe you'll get a bright idea about making more money with Uranus in your second house. Maybe, especially if you have your own business, adding something you get like, oh, I could do this. Fantastic idea.
Absolutely wonderful. I think for you, Taurus Rising, my key theme for you this month is creative pleasure at home. We have your chart ruler, it's angular in the fourth house. So, as Celeste is saying, if you've got any nice creative projects on the go, with the sun highlighting the fifth house, maybe you have children you could do some nice projects with to beautify the home in some way. That Venus, again, going through your fourth house, and that Venus will eventually get into the fifth house as well and make a nice connection with your ascendant ultimately. So again, a nice time for some creative pleasures at home. We've got a preponderance of planets below the horizon. So really it's fairly a private time. I know we do have some planets above the horizon, but we've got a lot going on underneath the surface. We've got this wonderfully exalted Jupiter, as Celeste talked about for the best part for a long time here now with this Jupiter. But this could also magnify those areas of the third house. So you could be enjoying time with siblings. It just might be a lot of travel in the local area, especially with Mars in the sixth house. Maybe the downside might be work might be a little bit cumbersome. Maybe you may have some issues with some co-workers. We've got Mars in detriment ruling the 12th house, and we still have the Saturn and Neptune there in the 12th. So watch out, I would say, for any, hidden enemies or co-workers maybe plotting behind the scenes to a certain degree. But with that Mars rule in the seventh house, this might also bring up, could be partner relationships in business, things of that nature. So that's my only word of caution to watch out for that, especially as we've got Pluto for the best part of 20 years now, transiting your whole sign 10th house. There could be some power struggles with bosses, things of that nature, or alternatively, you might be finding yourself in a position of power over the next decade or two. And yes, with Uranus stationed to go retrograde, there might be some second house topics coming up. So watch out for any financial themes that might come up for the month of September. Wonderful. Okay, into our Gemini rising friends. Celeste, your thoughts?
Yeah, so the Gemini risings, this is an important lunation cycle for you because the sun and the solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse are both angular for you. So, you're in a time of big change with Uranus in your first house. So really pay attention when Uranus goes retrograde and pulls back the tape. What is the message you're getting about what changes you need to make about the way you present yourself to others, or things about your vitality may come to your conscious attention. The sun is moving through your fourth house of home and family life. So, there may be like some big story around that you need to put more energy in your home and family life, the fourth house, and the 10th house, where there needs to be some kind of release or let go of stuff. So you may have to rearrange your schedule to maybe lighten up on your work if possible, or delegate some things. Yeah. So just be aware that can be something that comes up at this time. Yes. And Oh, maybe some fun little short trips that you can do. Like, or a child, there may be something that comes up with one of your children that means, I've got to leave work to go pick up my, you know, my kid, or they may be in more focus, or there may be some more, they may be more energized, or there could be some conflict related with Mars in the fifth house. Or you may be kick off work to have sexy time. Yeah, kick off work early, bringing some of the that joy and pleasure back into your everyday life. Yeah. And or maybe you finish some big thing and it's successful at work and you get a little raise with the, or you get extra money with Jupiter going through your second house, expanding your resources potentially. That's really exciting for you. Uranus in the first house.
Absolutely wonderful. And I think for you, Gemini Rising, I think this will be a great month, especially in September for reorganizing and putting plans into place. Is that we're going to have your chart ruler gain its dignity by going in its home sign, going into Virgo. And as Celeste is saying, this is highlighting the fourth house, not only with the Mercury, who's going to be Cazimi there, along with the Sun. This might be a great time for any sort of renovations of the home, or very much if you're getting to a point where it's starting to cool down where you are, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, might be a great time to reorganize the garage or declutter, get things out of the home that you need to move out to make you feel better about your home living situation. But again, it's highlighting the fourth house. As Celeste is saying, we've got Mars going through the fifth. So, on the shadow side, there could be maybe conflict with children. And as Celeste is saying, maybe you go and pick up the child from school and they've been naughty somehow. So you maybe have to have a conversation with some of your children. Or it could just mean putting some of that energy, that Mars kind of initiation into maybe some sports as an outlet for a certain degree. But with you, we've got a lot of the personal planets below the horizon. So this is still a private time for you. I like what Celeste is saying. Partnerships may go well for some time. We've got an exalted Jupiter ruling the seventh house. And if we're bringing in the likes of Venus, ruling the fifth house, again, Celeste is saying may be good for a bit of sexy time. Things of that nature. And I would also say this is a larger story with that Jupiter exalted in the second house, but this could be a really nice boon for any extra income that might come through, things of this nature. It might be quite pleasant as Venus is transiting through the first house. You might have pleasant encounters in your local environment, whether that's one of your siblings comes to stay for a few days, or you just take a nice trip down to the park with your children, things of this nature. This month is really speaking to getting organized, angularities here with the eclipses, getting organized and getting things in your life the way you want them ordered, I think is great advice for you, Gemini Rising, this month. Wonderful. Okay, into our Cancer Rising friends. Celeste, your thoughts?
Yeah, Cancer risings. I hope you are taking advantage of Jupiter being in your homes, in your first house. This is the planet of expansion and abundance. And what are you initiating? Do you have the confidence and faith in yourself? We have this beautiful Venus and Jupiter conjunction at 14 degrees of Cancer. Yeah, um, that's when Taylor Swift got engaged right around then. And yeah, that was how she used this energy. But what have you done? Have you initiated any project or new or new offering if you have your own career? Be mindful of your weight because you may be feeling good and abundant or just overly emotional and blah, blah, blah. So you may want to think about when Virgo season, how can I be healthier if you've been like doing a lot of this stuff in your mouth, because you may be feeling stress at work or more responsibilities or obligations because Saturn is up there in your 10th house. Are you feeling pushed? Saturn going through your 10th house is a big deal. This can be a time where you are really trying to expand your career in some way, or but you're coming up against like hard work or extra responsibilities or duty or pressure. But if you stick with it, you could have like some kind of breakthrough and be as a seen as a expert. Saturn, that maturity that comes from, if you're doing 10,000 hours, you become the expert, and maybe you're starting to be seen as that expert, and people are mythologizing you. Oh, look at this person with Neptune in your 10th house. They're a pioneer or whatever with Aries energy. So keep that in mind. And Venus moving through your second house. Now, if you initiated something with that Venus Jupiter conjunction, maybe you start to see the money flow into your bank account. Could be possible with this energy. And you really use that Mercury in Virgo, that couple of weeks. It's fast, but you could have the clarity to deliver information precisely and have people emotionally connecting with you with the sextile to Jupiter in order to network and expand. And if you're looking for a job or something like that, this could be great for you, energy. If you are very strategic and focused, and watch out for distractions with this. Now, Mars in the fourth house, there could be some little problems at home that you're dealing with that could, eclipses. You think you're going left, and then something comes up and you have to go right for a little bit. So just be prepared. Like if you're irritated with your kids or partner about, or roommate about how clean the kitchen is or whatever, rather than being passive aggressive, can you just have clarity and have a conversation without accusations and come up to some agreement about how you're going to split your whatever your duties and whatnot. And the lunar eclipse is in your ninth house. So can you think about what higher wisdom is coming to you about what you communicate? Can you be compassionate? Can you communicate passionately? You get more bees with honey rather than vinegar, or whatever that statement is. You may, like, if you get too critical with Mercury, will go in Virgo through your third house. You may realize, this is not getting me the results I want. I'm going to think about sprinkling a little sugar on it. This is what comes to you in your conscious attention, in your head. If you're traveling, be careful about getting sick with the moon in that ninth house at that Pisces lunar eclipse. Think about, if you're on a plane, airborne, putting a mask on, all that kind of stuff, if you want.
Absolutely. Wonderful point, Celeste. I think this has the potential for Cancer Risings to be a wonderful time. What's interesting here, if you look at the transiting chart, we've got the first quadrant that's highlighted. So when a lot of planets are in the first quadrant, I say to people, you do you. It's about you. We're highlighting the area of individuality. So this could be a great time if, for example, you're given a presentation. We're going to have that Mercury Cazimi in the third house, pulling together all the information. If you have to give a speech of some kind, this might be a really good time, especially with that Jupiter highlighting the first house. And especially if that Jupiter is around your ascendant degree, this is your time to shine and to be bold and upfront and to be on stage. Because not only do we have a wonderfully exalted Jupiter, it's ruling the ninth house. So this could be a presentation, maybe it's to do with astrology, or maybe you're giving a speech in higher education, things of that nature. And what's going to compound this is we're going to have that Mars gaining dignity towards the end of the month, going into your whole sign fifth house. That Mars rules your 10th house. So again, this could be a time where you're shining in your career. As Celeste is saying, we are going to have that Saturn retrograde back into Pisces and then go back into the whole sign 10th house. But with that Saturn, you can always or sometimes have that sense of authority, on the positive end, it could be, as Celeste is saying, maybe you're seen in what work you do as a sense of authority. And especially if you tie this into giving speeches or having to be giving clarity in some presentation, this is a great time for all of those. Now, there's always a flip side with Saturn and Neptune, so just be mindful of the shadow side, whether you might be coming into conflicts with those, or, bosses, things of that nature. But with the North Node highlighting the ninth house, and with the eclipses coming through, this has the potential to be a wonderful time for you, Cancer Rising. And as Celeste is saying, maybe just watch out for that Mars. That's angular, it's in detriment in the fourth house. So there might be some issues that come up around the home life. Maybe, something comes up in the house, something goes wrong that you have to clear up. But on the whole, I'm really liking this for Cancer Rising at this moment in time.
Yes, and I'm a Cancer Rising, and I'm going to be speaking at the symposium in Niagara Falls about the age of Aquarius, relating in the age of Aquarius, Mars and Libra. I'm going to be like giving people information to motivate them about thinking about relationships and relating. Astrology is so literal. And my dog is sick and has been having some like accidents in the house as part of my experience with this energy. It started right about when the sun went into Virgo, small pets. Yeah, it's astrology is absolutely literal. And yeah.
Absolutely. We can't wait for your presentation at the symposium, and I can't wait to meet you in person as well. And I hope your dog gets better. I know that's a niggle as well. But again, Cancer
Thank you.
Rising, I'm loving this Jupiter and everything for you right now. Wonderful. Okay, Celeste, into our Leo Rising friends. Your thoughts?
Okay, Leo, Venus is in your first house. So you already look good, have a time to shine. This is, you may be just magnetizing people more to you. When Venus first entered that sign, there may have been something that came up about relationships or power struggles or something revealed as Venus opposed Pluto. So really think about, this is an opportunity to think about what you do to magnetize people to yourself. Do you go to extremes sometimes to get the attention that you feel that you want and desire? Now the sun is going through your second house, and be careful about burning through money with the sun in your second house. Now, the sun in your second house of resources, the full moon is going to be in your eighth house of shared assets. So there can be some story that comes up about what is mine and what is ours if you are in a partnership. Pay attention to any kind of tax things. The tariffs may be a good idea to sit down and figure out. I don't know how you do this with, but the thinking about, ooh, maybe I should be conserving a little bit more. Leo tends to have a desire for like the best of the best luxury items, and maybe thinking about, ooh, is this really worth spending your resources? With the sun in Virgo, maybe you want to think about doing something where you bring in recycled or reused things rather than purchasing new things, is something that's coming to me with that energy. Jupiter's in the 12th house, so great time for a retreat, taking time alone to be doing some meditations or the evaluations of any self-undoing tendencies, especially with relationship to your money spending habits, I think is really good for you. Yeah, and think about with what's Uranus in your 11th house telling you about friendships. There may be someone in your life that, ooh, if you're concerned about them mentally or what they're going through, it could be like offering some support and caring could really go a long way, or just checking up on them could go a long way, I think, with this energy. And yeah, get really practical about your budget when Mercury in Virgo goes through your second house. And Just watch out for what you're saying with Mars and Libra in your third house, especially to people you're in one-on-one partnership with that you would like to keep it going. Because if you show up and show out, you could have a big fight. When Uranus goes retrograde, oh my goodness, it could be a lot, very dramatic. So, yeah, but yeah, great time to think about. You might be desiring to change your look a little bit, but just be mindful about the expenses.
Wonderful advice. I was thinking the exact same, Celeste. So I would say Leo rising this month, treat yourself. We'll get to the financial component in a second, but we've got this Venus being angular in your first house, especially when it comes close to your ascendant. Treat yourself for the day. Go for a spa day, go and pamper yourself, try out new outfits. This is a great time to, show yourself. We've got this fixed fire, Leo rising. We've got Venus ruling the 10th house. So this could be connected if you buy a new outfit and you've got to go and give a speech of some kind in work, whatever that might be, with the Venus ruling the 10th house and being angular. This is a great time to treat yourself a little bit because, as Celeste is saying, we're going to have this financial piece because we're getting the eclipses. We've got the nodes in the whole sign, 8th and 2nd house. The sun is highlighting the 2nd house, and we're going to have the Venus and the Mercury coming through. And the Mercury is going to be Cazimi. So this is going to highlight financial matters to a certain degree. So as Celeste is saying, I would definitely reiterate her point about just being watching out for maybe a little bit. What did you say, Celeste? Burning through money. I think that's a great way of looking at it. What might be helpful here is that we have an exalted Jupiter ruling the 8th house and the North Node in the 8th house. So in terms of shared resources, this might not be a bad time. Might not be a bad time with Jupiter exalted ruling the 8th in terms of maybe borrowing money, things of that nature, but still be cautious because that Saturn is going to dip its toes back into the whole sign 8th house for a little bit of time. So it might just be a couple of months where you still have to revisit this financial piece. And saying what Celeste was saying, we've got this Mars in detriment in the first house. Definitely be mindful of what you say, what you blurt out, especially if it's around your local area. Maybe you might have to come into conflicts with neighbors. Maybe they've done something to the fence that you're not happy with. Might be some conflict in terms of your local environment. So certainly keep an eye out for that. But otherwise, yeah, enjoy yourself this month, but just be mindful of some of the expenditures. Wonderful. Okay, into our Virgo rising friends. Celeste, your thoughts?
Virgo risings, this is a very important time for you. The South Node is going through your first house of vitality, appearance, the body, how other people see you. Things are coming to your conscious awareness. And the South Node can turn things inside out. So you can really see some things. You may get noticed about how efficient or all the high road Virgo stuff you are, or some of the low road Virgo. So just watch what comes to your attention. Watch what people say to you, especially partners or even strangers. And yeah, the Gavin Newsom is a Virgo rising. So we're really seeing what he's made of with this energy. And he is like, well, we're seeing all kinds of people positioning themselves for 2028, but it's been really interesting watching him and this lunar eclipse. We'll see what continues to go on with him and his taking the fight right to the president, because California was one of the first states that was getting aggressive, like the National Guard was sent here, and it was just a lot with Marines, I think, were put in the street. So that will be interesting to see what goes on, or the spotlight on him. But yeah, pay attention to what's going on with the Sun South Node, and because you may get something about identity. It's very important to take care of your health when the South Node is going through your first house. Getting a health checkup proactively is a good idea with the eclipse for you. And watch out for getting into any conflicts verbally or whatever, because especially if you have early Virgo, because Uranus could be squaring your rising sign, and this could be between you and an open enemy, a partner, or something. Like things could really pop off. And Uranus is in your 12th house. Are you happy with your career? Do you need to change it? Is there something you want to do? Yeah, there could be really innovations, bright ideas, awakenings, reversals around work stuff. Or if a project just collapses when Uranus goes retrograde, that's in the energy. So just be aware of that. With Mars in your second house, watch your spending. Would be something I would say about that. And spending some time with friends. Maybe you want to do more with an organization. Maybe you're thinking, oh, maybe I should go to Niagara Falls and join Kepler so that I can be in community and connection with people of like-minded things. And you last minute decide to join us. That could be possible.
Wonderful advice, Celeste. And I will say for you, Virgo, this is your season. So whether you're introverted or not, you are in the spotlight. We have the sun highlighting the first house. So whatever rising degree you have, the sun is going to highlight you. It's yourself. It's who you are, how you come across. Now, what I'm liking for you, Virgo Rising, is we're going to have your chart ruler move into its home sign. And as a Virgo Rising, not only is that Mercury going to be powerful in its home sign, it's going to be angular in your chart. So if you have something to say and something that you need to get off your chest, this is a good time to do it, because not only that, we're going to have the Mercury supercharged with its cazimi of the sun. So if it's a time where you need to speak out, this is a good time to do it. Watch out for that Uranus, though, as Celeste is saying. So just be mindful of what you do say. But if you have something important to say, certainly this is a time to say it. We've got that powerful Mercury domicile ruling the 10th house. So this might have a connection to career. So if you've got something going on, as Celeste is saying, maybe there's a shake-up in what you really want to do in life, this is a good time to make those plans this month and really to think about where you're heading in the next several years, because that Uranus is going to take quite a bit of time to transit through your 10th house. So over the next few years, you might find career change or sudden career change, things of this nature. But if you do have to say something to a boss or something to a leader, things of this nature, Celeste was talking about Gavin Newsom, this is a time where your voice can be heard, because that Mercury is going to be very, very incredibly powerful. Now, the only downside to this slightly is we have the South Node transit in the first house. So you might be at times feeling a bit drained of energy, especially over these next coming months. The nodes spend about 18 months in a sign. So just watch out for any health issues. If you're feeling a bit cumbersome, what you're doing might be feeling a bit cumbersome, just take your time to maybe retreat and take a bit of meditation break. We have Venus transiting through the 12th house, so this might be good just for a short trip. We've got Venus ruling the 9th house, transit in the 12th house. Might be good for if you're feeling a bit stressed, to take a bit of a retreat, maybe a bit of a spa day or meditation would be great for this period. But really, this is a time for you to raise your voice. This is also a great time for the best part of a year with exalted Jupiter in your 11th house to be connecting with like-minded people, to be connecting with community groups. So as Celeste is saying, if you come and join the symposium, this is a wonderful time to connect with organizations with that Jupiter there. Exalted Jupiter is ruling the 7th house, so you might be finding great one-on-one partners, things of this nature. So this is a great time for that, I think, Virgo Rising. As Celeste is saying, maybe the only word of caution is we have Mars in its detriment, transiting the 2nd house. Now, not only is it transiting the 2nd house, that Mars rules the 8th house. So we're going to have this financial component going on. But this is going to play out for quite a while, because as that Neptune stays there, eventually that Neptune and Saturn are going to go back into Pisces, but they're eventually going to come back full time for a while into Aries. So that I'll just watch out for the next several months, especially into the next couple of years, about the financial picture in your life. And is the career serving you and where you want to be going in life? That might be something that comes up to the forefront. But Bottom line is this is a time to use your voice and you will be heard at this time. Wonderful. Okay, into our Libra rising friends. Celeste, your thoughts?
Yes, Libra, your Mars is in your first house. Is that energizing you? Are you making like changes about how you appear to other people? Hopefully, you're using this energy to bring yourself forward momentum. Now, the sun is going through your 12th house. So this is also a great time to have a little retreat before the new moon in Libra in your first house, which is coming. It's a little delayed for a while. But anyway, late September, the sun will be going through your first house. So, but what are you doing in terms of taking care of yourself, watching for self-undoing? Maybe there can be a new start about some meditative practice with the 29 solar eclipse in Libra in your 12th house. With Venus going through your 11th, Libra, you like to do things in connection with other people. Maybe you ask a friend to join you in some kind of health odyssey or a journey. And think about how you are changing. Things may be coming to your conscious attention where you are being awakened to the things you knew were true, to your life philosophies that are changing with Uranus in your 9th house. That could be something that's coming up for you. Yeah. And with your partners, there with Saturn and Neptune, Saturn's moved back into your 6th house. So maybe there came to some crystallization of realization about stuff that's going on with your partner, that you have to take up more responsibility at home because they maybe have more responsibility at work or something like that. And Saturn back in your 6th house where there's more, you need to do more service, or do you have more pressure about like the routines in the household or something like that. But with your 6th and 12th house being activated at this eclipse, think about how you can make your routines, turn them into like your Virgo routines, turn them into rituals where they're like, maybe when you're walking your dog, that there's like some kind of meditative practice that you do it differently, where it's not just a obligation, it's an honor, it's a time to make the mundane sacred. So think about that. Think about the poetry of everyday life, Libra. And maybe you're the one at work who has a little bit more ease and flow with Jupiter going in your 10th house. Maybe someone was hired to help take some of the load off, and hopefully you're enjoying that, or you're just getting some benefits from your work life. Maybe even maybe even a little kudos that you're getting.
Wonderful point, Celeste. And as a Libra rising, you are always on point. And I'm definitely feeling that Mars energy right now. So the extra veneer, that extra bump in energy is that Mars moves through our first house. The only word of caution with that Mars going through our first house is that Mars is in detriment, it's angular. So as it comes over your ascendant degree, just watch out for little things. Maybe you're in the kitchen, just watch out for knives, sharp objects, anything that's cutting. Just be mindful of any of those health things. But on the positive side, as Celeste is saying, I'm certainly got a rush of energy as that Mars is going through our first house. What I would say for us Libra rising is I feel like the benefit here is going to be more in our public life than maybe our interpersonal relationships. We've got that Mars in detriment, rule in the 7th house. So we've got a few issues in terms of maybe more of our private life. So if we've got any issues maybe with a partnership or a business partner, that's probably going to be coming more to the forefront rather than the outer public arena. So talking about the outer public arena, this is a wonderful time to get involved with groups. We've got our chart ruler in fixed fire going through our whole sign 11th house. I'll be there at the symposium, so I'm going to have a great time with Celeste and all the other astrologers at the Kepler Symposium. That exalted Jupiter is going to be the best part of there for a year. That Jupiter, actually, when I get to the symposium, is going to be conjunct my midheaven. So again, if we're talking about external events, this is a great time to be out in public, to give speeches, to meet other people. This is a wonderful time for that. But we've also got that retreat piece. We've got the sun highlighting the 12th house. Eventually that Mercury and Venus will go into the 12th house. So maybe if we've put a lot of energy into the outer realms in terms of doing a lot of conferences, things of this nature, as we get more of those planets into Virgo, maybe it's a time where we can take a little bit of a breather and maybe go for a nice retreat just to calm down our nerves to a certain degree, because it speaks to Celeste's point about the 6th house being highlighted as well. So just still keeping an eye out for our health routines. And Celeste made an important point before at the beginning of the video. And if we can cut out a lot of the sweets and the treats and cut out, try and eat as healthily as we can, I think that's going to be a great piece of advice for us this month. Absolutely. Wonderful. Okay, into our Scorpio rising friends. Celeste, your thoughts?
Yes, Scorpio rising. So the sun is going through your 11th house of good fortune, the hopes and dreams. This can be a great time for you to use your strategic energies to take actions, especially when Mercury goes into Virgo, like the planning and things to get what you want to get done, to especially career stuff with Venus going through your 10th house. You may have a little more shine at work and getting some kudos in that area. The full moon lunar eclipse is going to be in your 5th house. So the 5th house also has to do with self-expression. So maybe you give a presentation or something that's really impactful and like people are cheering you on. That could be a beautiful thing that happens for you. And Mars is going through your 12th house. So hopefully you cut out things like especially sugar. If you need to get rid of some sugar, that was a great thing to do then. And maybe decide, oh, I'm hitting the gym when Mars goes into your chart ruler goes back into your 1st house and you are feeling pumped, energized, ready to go, fired up and ready to go to conquer the world. Yes, that solar eclipse in your 11th house is a great time to set a path to achieve your goals. Absolutely. Yeah. And do you want to bring a friend along or someone, or do something in concert with a group or an organization? Yeah, think about what are your ambitions and how you're going to take action to move them forward.
Wonderful advice. I would say for you, Scorpio Rising, if you're looking for a time to ask for a raise, this is the month to do it. We've got Venus transiting the angular 10th house, so you might be looked upon favorably with bosses. It's always a great time to ask for a raise, especially if your midheaven falls here. Great time to ask for a bump in pay. Not only that, we have an exalted Jupiter for the best part of the year, ruling the 2nd house as well. So that financial picture might be looking quite nice. Obviously, depending on what else is going on in your chart, you have to look at your own natal chart to decipher that. So this is a great time for, as Celeste is saying, any public appearance. Not only are we going to have Venus up there, Venus is going to transit through the 11th house. We've got the solar eclipse highlighting the 7th house, the sun highlighting that area. We've got that, again, that wonderfully exalted Jupiter. A lot of these planets are above the horizon, so anything that you have to do in public should work out favorably for you at this time. The only word of caution I would say is that we have your chart ruler in its detriment in the 12th house. Now, this can manifest in many different ways. This doesn't always have to happen, but sometimes you have to watch out for anybody trying to, like, hidden enemies, anybody working maybe in the workplace. The Mars rules the 6th house. Maybe a co-worker is maybe spreading rumors behind the scenes or trying to backstab you in some way. So just watch out for any hidden enemies along those lines. But as we get deeper into the month, we're going to have that Mars come into your 1st house. That Mars is at home in Scorpio, so you should feel this rush of energy and this awakening in terms of, as Celeste is saying, if you want to use that to exercise or have a new gym regime, this is a great time to do it. The only word of caution with Mars going through the first house is just watch out when it comes over your ascendant degree to make sure you're dealing carefully with, let's say, you're cooking in the kitchen with knives. So just be mindful of that cutting nature of Mars, but all intents and purposes, that Mars is going to gain its dignity, and hopefully you do feel that rush of energy if you have been doing a lot of work in the public. Wonderful. Okay, into our Sagittarius rising friends. Celeste, your thoughts?
Sagittarius rising, you're going to be very visible at work. And the South Node is there. So I would recommend not cutting out early, especially around Mercury Cazimi, because you could be in your boss's office the next day. But think about, what changes do you want to make at work? Are you getting really tired of what you're doing? How can you, this is a great time with the South Node. Doing something that helps others can be great. So maybe this is a time where you want to mentor someone else, or do something like that with your work life, but really be considering what your career at this time. And you may have like more things to do there, and have to ask your partner, your children, your roommates, your pet to take up more of the slack at home. If you have a pet that can go to the edge of the driveway and get your newspaper. I can't even get Debo to go get his ball and I put treats in it. So good luck to you if that's something that you can enlist your pet's help to make things lighter. Maybe you go on a trip with Venus going through your ninth house and have a good old time. Or just like Sagittarius, take a different route home every day, or something like that. Could just help stoke your wanderlust a little bit. Or you might find you decide to go to a new town or something just unexpectedly, to just take a little mini vacation or something like that, even if it's just for a day. But yeah, your work is going to be a lot in focus at this time. What's going on with your partner, with Uranus going through your seventh house? This is a time where there may be awakenings about things in your relationship. Is your partner needing more freedom? Are you wanting freedom from them in some way? Maybe you need to do kind of your own things. Maybe one of you are pushing the other. Hey, go out with your friends. Leave me alone. I need some time to myself, or something like that. Are you having to talk about the children? What's going on with little Johnny, with Saturn and Neptune in your fifth house? What does he or she need more structure or discipline or something like that? Maybe, not romanticizing them being this perfect little specimen, and dealing with the reality of who they are and what changes need to happen could be something that comes up.
Full points. One of
their classmates with Mars in the 11th, which is opposite the 5th.
Absolutely wonderful advice. I always have my key phrase with Sagittarius is a sign that needs freedom. We're talking about fire, and it's mutable fire. It needs change. It needs freedom. It needs oxygen to have that freedom. So I love that relationship component as well. But as Celeste is saying, your career is very much highlighted this month. We've got the solar eclipse up there. We've got the sun highlighting the 10th house. We're going to have Mercury come through and be Cazimi in the 10th whole sign. So if you have to look well as part of anything you're doing in terms of your career, this is a great time to shine above the horizon. If you've got any speeches to give, anything along this nature is going to be a great time for you. We have Venus transiting through the 9th house. This might be a nice overseas pleasure trip, or going long distance. If you've got, for example, if you come into the symposium at Kepler, this is a great time to come and deal with other people for you this month. Sagittarius Risings, what else have we got going on? Of course, we've got your chart ruler, wonderfully exalted. It's going to be for the best part of a year. So that financial component might have eased up in the last few months in terms of if you need to borrow any money or shared resources. But certainly, again, we've got a lot of these planets above the horizon. So a lot of the energy being pushed out with these transits is all to do with your higher philosophies. If you're involved in astrology in some way, whether it's your career, this is a great time to keep pushing that energy into those areas of life. The only word of caution here is that we do have the South Node transiting through the 10th household sign. The nodes usually spend about 18 months in a sign. We're still in a ways in there. So sometimes if your career might be feeling a bit draining, then maybe it's time to maybe adjust some way. The only word of caution here as well is we've got Mars in its detriment in the 11th house. You may come up with some conflicts in terms of if you're involved in a group committee, for example. There may be some conflicts there with groups of people, or alternatively, it just might mean more energy pushed into that area of life. But for you, Sagittarius Rising, I think this is a nice time, especially if you're involved in the public some way this month. Wonderful. Okay, into our Capricorn Rising friends. Celeste, your thoughts?
Yeah, Capricorn Rising. The sun is going through your ninth house of long distance travel, higher education, legal things. So, if there's any, and paperwork is a key thing. So, if there's any legal paperwork that you need to take care of, or some places you cannot go there unless your passport has 3 or 6 months on it. So, if you need to go on a trip, especially if it's when Mercury is about to go retrograde in Sagittarius, you better make sure you have your paperwork in order, or there could be a crisis. So keep that in mind. And yeah, you may be really focused on your belief systems or things like that, or deciding to change like your house of worship or something like that could be coming up. Jupiter's going through your 7th house. So hopefully you're feeling connected emotionally to your partner if you have one. If not, get out there. If you're single, get out there and mingle. You could meet someone, and you don't have to say yes to the first person who asked you to go to the dance. Think about being discriminating and what do you really want from a partner. Watch out for conflicts at work with Mars in your 10th house. Hopefully this is just energizing you, but pay attention to that. With Saturn and Neptune in your 4th house, well, Saturn's moved back to your 3rd, but there may be something that comes up with your parents. Like some people are going to be realizing with the Pisces lunar eclipse, oh my God, you need to talk to your sibling about mom or dad. Are they getting dementia? Do they need to go to the nursing home? Are they going to be kicked out of the nursing home when the big, beautiful bill comes and the Medicare or Medicaid, whatever cuts are coming? Like who's going to take mom and dad when the money runs out? That might be something you're needing to talk about. And with Uranus in your 6th house, maybe it's you. Maybe there's some big reversal of upheaval in your daily life because you've got obligations for a parent that's no longer able to take care of themselves. Yeah. Any water problems, take good care of them right away because there could be a problem. Yes, with that. And yeah, or neighbor stuff. If you're thinking about taking your neighbor to court for some reason with the lunar eclipse in the 3rd house because their tree is flopping in your yard or whatever, I'd highly recommend you trying to negotiate it in a way that's collaborative, because the South Node in your 9th house, you could be getting drained by doing legal stuff. And remember, kangaroo court is one of the things. So it might be just, you really regret it. Think about solving it in a better way.
Absolutely wonderful advice. And again, for you, Capricorn Rising, your 9th house is really highlighted this month. Not only we've got the sun highlighting this area of life, we're going to have the Mercury, which is ruling your 9th house in a very powerful position. Not only is it going to be in rulership, it's going to hit that Cazimi. So if you can find a date around that time, anything surrounding 9th house matters, whether you're looking to maybe go on a nice long distance pleasure trip, or whether you've just started, maybe with the fall coming up, you've maybe started a new semester. So whether you're studying astrology, you're studying at a higher education, this is a great time for any form of study, or as Celeste was saying before, and it bringing up your interpersonal, your philosophies, what you want out of life, because we're going to again have that Mercury Cazimi rule in the ninth house, strong position. We're going to have that Venus come through into the ninth house as well. So you're going to have that house highlighted. So again, any ninth house issues that are coming up for you, this is a great time to hone in on that. The only word of caution here is that we do have the South Node there. So just be watching out if you're already involved in higher education, then maybe some issues that come up. Certainly watch out for that Mars. Anytime a planet is angular, transiting through your chart, it usually becomes very loud. So we have a Mars in detriment in the angular 10th house, and it's ruling the fourth house. So you might find there may be some conflicts in terms with bosses, something going on with the career, and this might be connected to the home life. So maybe there's a stretch or a polarization between what you're trying to get done, the energy you're trying to push into your career versus what's going on at home. So that might be something you have to keep an eye on this month, but eventually that Mars will gain some dignity as it transits your 11th house, and then you might be more focused on groups and friendships, things of that nature. But what I do love for Capricorn Rising is this wonderfully exalted Jupiter. It's angular, it's in the 7th house. So as Celeste is saying before, you might be getting a lot of support. It's a greater benefic, getting a lot of support over this next year from partners. This can be significant others as well as business partners. Anything that has that one-on-one relationship. But for you, Capricorn Rising, ninth house themes, keep that in mind for the month of September. Wonderful. Okay, into our Aquarius Rising friends. Celeste, your thoughts?
Yes, Aquarius Rising. Well, you're in a time of incredible change where you're burning down things, like breaking things down to the studs, letting go of things that you no longer need. Things with Pluto going through your first house. This is a big transformation period for you. Are you still in the caterpillar phase or butterfly phase? Where are you in this process of self-empowerment? Maybe something you want to think about at this time, and how is it impacting your relationships in terms of intimacy with the sun and solar eclipse, south node, Mercury going through your 8th house of shared resources, deep psychological processes, debt, sex, death, and taxes. So these are some of the things that may be in your conscious attention. Maybe you want to do, if you don't have a will, consider doing it. Maybe write your obituary if you want to do something like that. That could be a great use of the sun going through your 8th house, getting things together for that sort of stuff. And you can think about with Mars in the 9th house, you may be motivated to take care of legal stuff that's going on. Absolutely. And there may be the full moon across your sun in your 8th house of debt and shared assets, and the moon in your 2nd house of your personal income. There could be a big financial story about, maybe you want to do something where if you're feeling a little pinched financially, the action with the North Node there, maybe you can make some expansive things about your income. Maybe you want to join a group about how to budget, if that's something that could help you. The North Node has associations with groups. It's in your 2nd house, about resources. Do you need to think about your self-esteem? That sort of thing. And Mars and Scorpio will be going through your 10th house. So that can be a time where you're really motivated to take action about your career. Yeah. And if you're coming to the Kepler conference, maybe you go to travel, you make connections, the things you learn help you to be more strategic in your work when you get back. when Mars, or later on when Mars goes into Scorpio. Absolutely. And hopefully you're having some sweet times with your partner. Maybe they're doing something that makes you feel extra special with Venus and Leo, or you're feeling extra special towards them. And then when Venus goes into your eighth house, there's something maybe beautiful that comes with acts of service for the one you love.
I love that. Wonderful point, Celeste. And picking up on what you're saying, it seems for you, Aquarius Rising, this month, we really are in this financial axis of the second and the eighth house. So it might be a time of a financial picture. Now, this could be both positive and negative, depending on what else is going on with your chart. But we have the sun highlighting the whole sign eighth house. We're going to have Mercury coming in to take its cazimi in the whole sign eighth house, and eventually Venus is going to come into there as well. So really this picture and the bigger picture is about shared resources. It could be debts to a certain degree or issues of borrowing money, because not only that, we're going to have the eclipses. Here we've got the nodes in the whole sign second and eighth. So this is a time where you really may be thinking about the financial picture. That sun rules your seventh house, so it could have something to do with significant others, or it could be business partners. So again, this is not going to say is whether it's going to be positive or negative. It just means it's going to be highlighted in some way. So something that you need to maybe keep an eye out for. The positives here is that Mercury rules the eighth house, and it's going to gain its strength in its rulership and the cazimi. So that's going to help matters of the eighth house, as well as having an exalted Jupiter rule in the second house, even though we've got Saturn dipping its toes back into there. So there's a bit of a mixed bag in this financial picture, but certainly is an area of life that's highlighted. So keep an eye out for that. And as Celeste is saying, we've got this Mars. The only issue with this Mars is it's in detriment, and it's in the cadent house in the ninth. So in terms of putting energy into your career, because it rules the 10th house of career, I might wait till we get later in the month as that Mars gains dignity and goes through the 10th house to push into any matters of career, or maybe any issues you might be having with bosses. I would certainly wait till later in the month to focus your energy in that area of life. But I love what Celeste is saying in terms of partnerships. We've got that Venus zipping through the whole sign seventh house. This is a great time if life is getting a bit cumbersome to go on a date night. You know, take your partner out, take a business partner out if you're free and single, and go and enjoy a couple of days out and a bit of a retreat. So absolutely wonderful. Okay, last but certainly not least, into our Pisces Rising friends. Celeste, your thoughts?
Pisces rising, the North Node and the moon, the lunar eclipse, are in your first house. So this is a great time to pay attention to your health and well-being. And you're someone who's very sensitive emotionally and can absorb other people's emotions. So I think your spiritual hygiene or your energetic cleanliness is really, really important, so that you know what's yours versus other people's at this time. But it can be a really beautiful time for the North Node going through your first house. You may be connecting in groups more with people, or just expanding, having things, your appearance, you're showing up in front of more people in some way is quite possible. Great time to get a checkup. Just whenever eclipses are in your first house or sixth house, it's really important to take care of your health and really pay attention to that. The relationship with yourself is in a primary focus, and you will be seeing a lot that with the South Node and the solar eclipse going in your seventh house. There could be some karmic story that comes up. Like if you're single, you may draw in a new partner that you have like some karmic finishing up with, or lessons that you need to learn. They're really beware. There's going to be a focus on the partner, one-on-one relationships, whether they're like a love relationship, a best friend, or an open enemy, could be coming into your conscious attention. Yes, and maybe there's changes going at home with Uranus going through your fourth house, or being, if there's any electrical problems, take care of them right away. I just got a intuition about that. Or Uranus in Gemini. What's going on with you and your siblings related to your parents and their well-being? Are you saving for retirement, being very careful about your money? Is there any kind of financial pinch? Saturn has moved from your second house back into your first house, but yeah, there could be, really think about your resources and what you're doing with that. And Mars in the eighth house of shared assets. Watch, there could be some conflicts coming up with you and your partner, or discussions about spending patterns or taxes or tax strategies and things like that. And watch out for being passive aggressive. Can you just be forthright? Because when Mars goes into Scorpio, people can go from being passive aggressive to aggressive aggressive. So I think it's better to take care of these things, head it up at the path with clear communication, be practical with Mercury going through Virgo. And maybe you'll get a little lightening up of your routines and rituals. Ooh, maybe you want to get a new pet with Venus going through your sixth house or something. That could be a conversation what you're having with your partner. They don't want a new dog, you do. You may have to compromise on that. Or getting one for your child with Jupiter in your fifth house. You want to teach your child emotional responsibility or connectedness by bringing a pet into the house or something. That could be something that's coming up, and they'll have to learn how to train it with Uranus in Gemini. They said they were gonna walk the dog, and now it's like you're doing it. So there could be conversations about that.
I absolutely love that. Wonderful. For you, Pisces Rising, this is not just talking about the month of September. What I do love for this year for you is that your chart rule is wonderfully exalted in Cancer, and it's in the fifth house. So this is a great year for creative endeavors. If you've got any children, great time to spend with them. And of course, depending on what your ascendant degree is, that Jupiter, whether it's already made the connection or it's about to, keep an eye on that Jupiter, because that's a wonderful time to beautify, to concentrate on your appearance. But I do love having your chart ruler being wonderfully exalted in the fifth. Now, as Celeste is saying, this month is really highlighting the first seventh house axis. We've got the sun highlighting the seventh house. We're going to have Mercury, which rules your seventh house, coming into its home sign. In Virgo, it's going to get that Cazimi, and then eventually that Venus is going to join along and come into the seventh house as well. So it's all highlighting, along with the solar eclipse, partnerships. Now, this can be significant relationships, significant others, or it could be business partners. But this is really highlighting one-on-one relations for you this month. So again, depending on what's going on with your own chart, this can be positive or negative, depending on what's going on. But having these planets come here, it just means this is going to be a theme that runs through the month. So if, say, for example, work has been a bit cumbersome, great time to maybe spend some time with your partner. Reconnect. If you felt for a while that you've not been connecting, this is a great time to reconnect with your partner. If you are in a relationship, whether that's a long-term marriage or just a short-term partnership, this is a great time with those planets highlighting those areas of life. What might be a bit cumbersome for you is Saturn is coming back into the whole sign first house. So if you've been feeling if life is a bit of a drag, or you're feeling that diminished energy, it might just be for the next couple of months, because eventually that Saturn is going to finish up its time in your whole sign first house and move away for a long, long while. And especially if you have late degrees of Pisces rising, just be mindful of that Saturn-Neptune picture. As Celeste is saying, we might have a little bit of a financial picture here. We've got Mars in its detriment moving through the eighth house. It also rules your second house. So there might be some conflict that has come up or might come up around shared resources. So that's something to keep in mind. But as that Mars gains dignity, as we get deeper into the month, that should be an issue that comes to some resolution of some sort. But again, we've got that Venus going through the sixth house. So this might be a great time to just beautify your routines in terms of what anything that you want to put together in terms of your routine, this is going to be highlighted as well. And to Celeste's point, this Uranus story is going to be here for a while. So, maybe as that Uranus dipped its toes into your fourth house, maybe something did happen initially, but this is going to be a picture for many, many years. As that Venus, that Uranus is still going to come back, but as it goes through, this might be in the next few years where there could be, a house change or something around the home where something changes. So keep an eye out for that Uranus picture, especially as Uranus stations to go retrograde in the next couple of weeks. So that's just a story and a theme that might pop up and might last for the next couple of years. But ultimately, I do love that wonderfully exalted Jupiter, so enjoy some of those creative pleasures. And Celeste, again, thank you so much for going through this wonderful month and going through. I love hearing your wisdom and your insights. Tell us what's coming up for you. What else didn't we talk about? What's coming up for you, Celeste? And how can people find you?
Yeah, so you can find me at astrologybyceleste.com. I do personal readings, coaching if you want to work with me on a longer basis or just have multiple sessions at a more affordable price. I do mentoring for aspiring astrologers, and I teach classes. I'm teaching a class on the moon that is coming up. Get on my mailing list. You get a free thing about the moon phases, and then you'll know about the class that's coming up. I am a board member for OPA, the Organization of Professional Astrology. So we're going to Park City, Utah, October 15th through 19th, and I'm teaching about predictive astrology. You can take my class at Kepler. Transit starts September 15th. Listen to the Celestial Insights podcast to learn how to navigate the energies of the week like a boss. Follow me on Instagram, and I'm on TikTok and Blue Sky and Facebook. But Instagram is my main platform, and I'm doing more on YouTube. Please follow, like, and subscribe and comment if you listen there. And I do some of my, I bring in my intuitive psychic hits and stuff on Threads and kind of just go a little crazy with the things I write on there. So just that's a creative outlet for me. So you can find stuff there. And yeah, I'll be at the Kepler Symposium. So if you can't make it live, you can get the report. You can do it virtually. So consider doing that. And that's what's up for me.
Amazing. You do so much, Celeste. Not only a wonderful astrologer, but a fantastic teacher. And of course, your transits class sells out quite quick. So for everybody watching this, I'll put the links to the transits class coming up. I recommend signing up quickly because that class runs out, or the spots get filled up quickly. So certainly sign up for that as soon as possible. And for all of Celeste's social links, I'll have those in the description and comment box as well. So please go and follow Celeste on all the different socials, YouTube, go subscribe and like. Such wonderful insight with all of the amazing work that Celeste does. And of course, if you can attend in person, we'd love to see you at the symposium. But if you can't, this is also a virtual event, and we'll put all the links in the description for that as well. So Celeste, as always, it's always a pleasure to hear your wonderful insights, and it's a pleasure always speaking to you.
Thank you so much, Caleb. And if you are thinking about going to UAC, the United Astrology Conference, I'm on the planning committee. It's next September 2026. Do not hesitate to get your ticket. I really think it's going to sell out. Yeah, we've already, people are registering at record rates. So yeah, join us there. And there are volunteer opportunities and scholarships. So you can apply for those if you need financial assistance or be a volunteer. We need people helping to make this a dynamic, exciting event. So
wonderful. What's the dates of UAC next September?
September 3rd through 9th, I believe. Yeah, those are the dates. And you can just follow UAC on social media, Instagram and YouTube for sure. and get on the mailing list. You can go just search UAC Astrology and find the website.
Absolutely wonderful. Well, again, Celeste, thank you so much. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you all again next time. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.